Hello, everyone. Welcome to Community Pioneer. I'm Jeff Kelly. I'm joined here today with Superintendent Chad Williams of the Shelley School District. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We're sitting down with him today. We're talking about the high school and the survey that was sent out recently, and we wanted to ask Superintendent some questions in regards to the school bond and how you guys plan on going about doing it, things like that. So that's what we are planning on doing today. So we'll get into it right now. So tell us a little bit about this bond.
Okay, yeah. So first of all, I just want to thank everyone that took the survey. We definitely need the input of the community because we're going to have to make some difficult decisions. And there were 552 people that took the survey. The survey results are live. They're on the website, and there were a lot of questions that were asked over the spring break. I'm gonna spend some time trying to answer all of those questions, and then I'll post those responses on the website. Maybe historically, we've been planning this. So I had a building committee that I started a few years ago, just trying to plan for the future and plan for the growth. And so we've been meeting for a few years, trying to decide the correct timing to build a new high school. And obviously, no final decisions have been made. But I'm going to predict that we're going to be seeking support for a bond within the next year or so. The enrollment numbers for fall 2023 will probably be an indicator of, are we going to try to pass a bond spring 2024, or are we going to delay it another year?
Okay. So in this information that you have here, Fast Facts, you have indicated that you want to go out for a bond next March. What's the bonding capacity of the school district there?
So our bonding capacity, there's a law that only allows school districts to bond up to 5% of the market value, and so the projections for Shelley School District are $68 million, which sounds like a huge number, but if you look at the Fast Facts, if you do spend a little bit of time on there, and you look at what other buildings have cost to build, $68 million is not going to build the high school that we want.
Right, because if we're looking at 4A type student body, 1,300 students.
Yeah, we currently have at the high school. We currently have I should have memorized it. Between 700 and 750 kids.
Right, and so how big of a high school do you build?
And that is the question, and that was one of the survey questions. And if you look at the results of that question of the capacity, that was one that actually kind of surprised me. There were a lot of people. It was kind of split between 2,000, 1,700, and 1,500. But the feedback from the community was, let's build a high school that has the capacity of probably 1,500 or more. And if you look at these numbers of recent bids on the Fast Fact sheets, $68 million is not going to be enough, and so we're
looking somewhere between 115 million.
Yes. So the building committee has been meeting with the design team, and the design team consists of an architect and engineering firm, and then also a construction manager of Bateman Hall, and we've been brainstorming, kicking ideas around, trying to figure out how to prioritize, and we have a meeting with them, with the design team again, I think on April 10th. After that meeting, there'll be survey number 2 coming out so that we can seek more input from the community, because we're going to be forced to prioritize.
Do we have to build a high school in the next couple of years? What happens if we don't? No. Let me reframe that. So what happens if we don't build a new high school?
So right now, when I look at enrollment numbers, I don't really have room for more 3rd graders or 4th graders or 1st graders or 2nd graders, meaning I can't really hire another teacher. I don't have any more classrooms. And It's pretty close to that in all of my other buildings. Some of my other buildings have like one classroom available that we could hire another teacher, but the enrollment numbers really are going to force us to, we're going to need more classrooms.
You need modular units.
So and ultimately that has been my goal is how can we avoid modular units? How can we plan ahead so that we can avoid those? We already have 4 classrooms at the high school that are modular classrooms, and we're thankful that we have them. But if we don't build something solid within the next few years, we're gonna be seeing modular units really is the option. If you look at fast facts, and I don't want to like say, hey, we're gonna add a bunch of modular units, because that's what I want to avoid. But if you do look at our fast facts on the second page, what can we do to mitigate large class sizes? There's like 6 bullet points of things, other options we have to try to mitigate large class sizes and growth. But as we have met as a building committee, we feel like the best avenue is to move forward with the new high school. And then as we surveyed the community also, just on that first survey, we had 86% of those that took the survey that said, yeah, it's a good idea to build a new high school.
So how do you go about building a new high school when you don't have
the money to do it? It's going to be in phases. So we're going to have to figure out, obviously, classrooms are a high priority, and science rooms are a high priority, and other things are going to have to be built in phases. I think we're going to have to agree on this is what will be done in phase 1, and then in 5 years or 6 years, when our bonding capacity goes up or our market value goes up, hence our bonding capacity will go up, then we can agree that this is going to be phase 2, and then maybe in 4 or 5 more years, when our bonding capacity goes up, we can do phase 3. So the only way that this can be done, as far as I understand, it's going to have to be done in phases.
How have other school districts done that?
So the one example that does come to mind is Salem School District. Their bonding capacity, they have more challenges with theirs than we do, actually. So they have just added on to their high school, which they did that, I want to say, about 12 or 13 years ago, because they couldn't afford to build a new high school. And then they recently chose to build a middle school because their bonding capacity just isn't high enough. And you can build a middle school. Middle schools are cheaper than building a new high school.
So could you build a middle school here instead of a high school?
So by all means, anything is optional. If we did choose to build a new middle school, we would have to change the configuration, because right now our high school's full, so we wouldn't be able to have a high school that's 9 through 12.
You have to go back to 10 to 12.
We'd have to go 10, 12, or change the configuration some way. But that being said, if we build a new high school in phases, it's probably also going to force us to change our configuration somehow. I don't know exactly how yet, and I think I'm going to have a lot more answers after our meeting in April, and after we get survey results number 2.
Okay. So what survey questions are you going to ask the public that's going to give you a definitive idea of how to move forward?
So on survey number 1, we didn't have any price tags. I didn't include any price tags at all. And so survey number 2 is going to be, I think, okay, nothing's final, but I think it's going to say, okay, this is how much a gym is going to cost. This is how much an auditorium is going to cost.
Right.
This is how much a expanded library or a library is going to cost. There's some things that you have to have. You can't have a school without a library. So I would say this is how much a gym is going to cost. This is how much a ag/CTE building is going to cost. This is how much an auditorium is going to cost, and then try to prioritize what we can use that we already have. Could we have students walk to our current ag building during phase 1? Could we offer a few classes in the current high school for high school age kids, which the plan is that becomes a future middle school. Questions like that are going to be what we're going to be looking for feedback on.
Okay, so if you build on the 38 acres that you have south of the high school,
And it's 28. It's
28
yeah,
acres.
it's 28.
Right, 28 acres.
I think it's either 26 or 28. But
Okay.
anyhow,
So you'll have kids go back and forth to school.
I would say possibly.
Possibly.
We haven't fixed anything yet.
Right.
We just been brainstorming and kicking around a lot of different options.
Right.
When our building committee met last time, we looked at the survey results and we looked at our bonding capacity and we just brainstormed for about 2 hours. And has that idea come up? For sure, it has come up.
Right. If you go to build a new school, you've got to have it designed so that it's large enough to meet the capacity of the student body.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to have to build it in phases. How are you going to go about doing that and making it work right?
Mm-hmm. No, very, very good question. We've spent a lot of time discussing what capacity do we want our new high school to be. And I think the answer is going to be around 1,500, give or take. And we are going to ask our architects and engineers to build the core areas large enough for that number of students. Make sure that the cafeteria area is large enough. Make sure the bathrooms are large enough, the hallways, the library, all those core spaces are large enough to absorb that amount of students. And then we'll build the classrooms that we actually need right now. We don't have 1,500 kids at the high school right now. So we'll just add classrooms, and then with the plan on phase 2, as our student enrollment increases with phase 2, we will have plans already in line to add on more classrooms as our student enrollment increases.
Okay.
I think that was kind of the original plan with Sunrise and Riverview, that we would add on classrooms in the future.
Right.
But at least in my opinion, they didn't build the core areas large enough for more students. If you stop by those buildings at any time during lunchtime or PE time, the lunchroom, it's at capacity. There's just not really more room for more kids to add more kids to those schools.
So you're thinking of building the core of the building to the size of the student body that you anticipate,
mm-hmm.
and then adding on the gymnasium and the auditoriums later. Possibly. I mean, this is all theoretical.
I would say, with the discussions that I've been with the building committee and with the design team, the core areas are a high priority. We need. The classrooms obviously are a high priority, which we need. And then the add-ons, how big of a gym or how many gyms are we going to be able to have? How big of an auditorium are we? So the feedback we've gotten from our design team is there's kind of a threshold of a seating capacity below 1,000. If you get up above 1,000, they're telling us it gets quite a bit more expensive. But they're also telling us that there's a big difference between a 1,000 capacity auditorium and a 750 capacity auditorium. So I would anticipate that's going to be a question on survey number 2 of, hey, here's how much a 999 capacity auditorium is. Here's how much a 750 capacity auditorium is, and how big of an auditorium do we ultimately need and want?
Right. Now, for those people who think that you should go to modular schools, why shouldn't you go to modular schools?
You know, you're probably just getting my opinion right now. I think modulars probably are pretty doable at the high school level with the older kids. It's a little bit easier, I think. Having little kids walking upstairs, going to modulars, I just don't think that's a very good idea. And
modulars run what, $250,000 a year?
yeah, they're
For
becoming more and
2
more
units.
expensive. So to get 2 classrooms, I got a bid a few months ago, and yeah, it's $250,000 for 2 classrooms.
And that includes the infrastructure to put it in.
Correct. No, actually, that doesn't now.
It's just the unit
Yes,
itself.
a year ago, I figured I could do it for 250 total, but modulars have become a lot more expensive, and of course, that's if you buy them new. Could you find some? I would say they're a hot commodity, and that's another thing that discussion that we've had is if you look at Rigby High School, which is really pretty brand new. If you look at Black Canyon Middle School, which is pretty brand new, they have modulars already, and that's kind of what we want to try to avoid.
Right. Well, you've got a challenge ahead of you.
No, we're for sure we do, and we want to make good choices, fiscally responsible choices, and we want to make the right choices. And really, we feel like we're making 50-year decisions here because we're going to be this new high school that we build. I think in 50 years we're still going to be using it. Is what I would predict.
Right. So you're sending out the survey to get people's opinion as to the direction you should go once you get information in.
Yeah, get a little more information, and then we're going to be looking for guidance on prioritizing. I wish we didn't have to prioritize, but our bonding capacity is going to force us to prioritize.
So when it comes to a new school, do you have any specific designs in mind?
By no means is anything final, but the building committee we visited a few different schools. I've visited a lot of different schools, and there's a school that has been rebuilt 7 times. It's Middleton High School, and so it's Middleton High School. It was built twice down in Utah, Green Canyon High School and Ridgeline High School, and now it's been built twice over in the Boise Valley, also Ridgeview High School in Owyhee. And we really like that design, and by building a school that's already been built, it's going to save us millions of dollars on the design of it with the architect and engineer. So if I was going to answer that directly, I would say we're going to try to build a school similar to Ridgeview, and all 5 of those schools, they're very, very similar, but they also have a couple of things here and there that are a little bit different. But from all the feedback that I've gotten when I've talked to administrators and people that are actually in those buildings, and then the feedback from the building committee, I would say we're going to try to build a school kind of like Ridgeview, but we're going to obviously have to do it in phases.
With the bonding capacity, how does it work? Where does most of your money come in your bonding capacity?
So it's all taxes, okay? So, and that's why we're trying to seek as much input from the community as we can, because the community is going to be the ones that vote to approve the bond or not approve the bond, and then ultimately we're going to be the ones paying taxes on or property taxes.
So does most of that tax come from commercial properties or from new homes that are being constructed, or?
So everybody that has property tax, everybody that owns property will be paying for the bond. Homeowners do have a tax exemption, tax exemption, and so as a homeowner, which I am, depending on the value of my home, and we'll have a calculator out on our website once we get a lot closer, but I'll be able to go on there and say my home is worth this, and it'll minus my homeowner's exemption, and then it'll calculate how much it's going to cost me on an annual basis. The Fast Facts does have a rough estimate of what it's going to cost. And actually, if you looked at that Fast Facts when I first pushed it out, I've updated it. It actually got updated in February. So it did change a little bit. I can't remember if it went up or down. It didn't change very much, but it kind of shows what it's going to cost if we bond for $68 million.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, going forward, what kind of developments can have to occur to have increase in bonding capacity?
No, that's a good question. So we actually thought about that. The discussion took place of should we just wait for our bonding capacity to go up higher so that we don't have to build this new building in phases. And the construction manager, Bateman Hall, they said our projections of our market value are going to go up 6% each year. And if you compare those to the projections of what it's going to cost, construction costs, we actually think we're probably going to be losing ground each year because we think construction costs are going to go up faster than 6%. And keep in mind, those are projections, but they're coming from people that are in the business as well.
Right. So it's not pretty anyway.
Exactly.
Okay. But you're pretty sure where the high school is going to go. You have a fairly good idea that it's going to go over there on that 28 acres.
So that's something that I wanted to mention because I did get a little bit of feedback on the survey question because I did include a survey question about the proximity of the new high school. We do own 26 or 28 acres south of the softball field and south of the high school.
And it goes down to baseline.
And in my mind, I was always like, hey, we're probably going to build it out in that farm. It's being farmed right now out there in that field somewhere. But after getting after having more discussion and such, the idea came to, well, if we moved it closer and maybe build it on top of like where the soccer field is and maybe on top of the softball field in that area and relocated the soccer field and the softball field, we would be able to continue to use some of the facilities we already have, like the football field. We would be in closer proximity to the current high school, which would allow us to walk to the ag building or walk to the aux gym.
But that would require infrastructure. It would require a street to be put in.
Yeah. It doesn't matter where we put it. We're gonna have to put in some asphalt.
Serious infrastructure.
One thing that kind of surprised me on the survey, there were quite a few people that made a comment about parking, and that also came up. If we positioned the new high school closer to the current high school, we could expand parking and share parking as well, which would equate to some cost saving.
Right. Well, that sounds exciting. Well, we look forward to the next survey and we'll figure out what's going on, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, we are. At some point, we're going to make a decision. Right. We've been brainstorming for a couple of years and we're still brainstorming. And we finally have professionals that can give us advice with the design, with the architect and engineer and the construction manager. And we got both of them on board together at the same time so that they can work together to just try to do anything they can for cost savings and build a building that's the most efficient as possible.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in and sharing that with us.
No, thank you. And if anybody has any questions, like I said, I'm going to try to answer all the survey questions the best I can next week and post that online. And just stay tuned because we need everyone's support for this to be successful. After looking at the bonds that failed yesterday, there were seven bonds up and only 5 of them passed. It's a challenge to pass a bond. You have to have 66.67% of those who vote in favor of the bond.
You have to have 66.67. And you had 64% that said they wanted to do it. Well, actually, it was more than that.
86.
86.
Yeah, 86. And yeah, so we feel like there's support. So we're going to try to move forward.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming and sharing that with us. We'll keep in touch with you.
Okay, that sounds great.
Forward.
Thank you very much.
Once again, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.